Thanks for coming to this website. We are talking about divorce, but specifically, I just want to say I'm sorry this is happening. It's not easy emotionally. I know there's tons of grief. You really need to make sure you're talking to a spiritual leader or a mental health professional. You need to commit to change regardless of the circumstances in your life, regardless of what's going on. You always need to change. Full disclosure, I am not an attorney, and we are not here to give legal, tax, or other advice outside of real estate. I am a real estate agent and investor who specializes in divorce. So, we are talking about the home, otherwise known as the marital asset. Do you want to stay? Does your spouse want to stay? Typically, the person who wants to stay is called the end spouse. And a lot of times it ends up being the mother if there are kids involved because they want to keep it consistent for the kids. But there are plenty of situations where there are no kids or it's just one spouse wanting to keep it because they maybe had it before the marriage. There's a ton of different scenarios. Now, I would advise for you to keep the home as long as you and the other spouse that you're getting divorced from can work it out. If the home's paid off and you can afford the taxes and utilities, if you can buy out the other's equity or walk away, I mean, you're going to have to do that even if you stay in the home and it's paid off. If there still is a mortgage on it, can you make the mortgage payments alone if you're the one trying to stay in the house? Because it really doesn't make sense for you to make the mortgage payments if you don't live there. I would never advise that, and I imagine you wouldn't want to do that. But you could refinance it, but honestly, at this moment in time, it's not really a possibility anymore. 95% of the time, people do sell the house when they're going through divorce. The interest rates as of this writing are over 7%. You most likely have a much smaller rate, maybe 2 or 3% on the mortgage. You probably owe too much on the house, but thanks to COVID and the past few years, price values or values of the home really went up. Most likely, the combined incomes or even just one spouse's income is really what made the mortgage payment happen. And now that you're splitting, it's really going to be difficult to make that payment. You probably are going to lose the house, and you need to start thinking about that. And you'll mourn the loss of this as well. It is very emotional. It's a place of memories. It was a safe haven. But look, it can still work out. You need to use a divorce real estate pro, such as myself, that understands the pitfalls with the house, with insurance, mortgages. You can run into a lot of problems with the house, and a lot of attorneys miss it. They just do because they're not necessarily real estate professionals. Most of the time, they're not. They're there for legal advice. Again, I am not an attorney. I am not here to give you legal advice, but you probably are going to have to sell the house, and that's really what we're talking about. Now, both parties have to agree. It's best so you can get the maximum amount of money. Any vendors you use, such as myself, needs to be neutral. You need to consult a divorce mortgage professional and your attorneys. That's just a given. Now, sometimes both of you aren't going to agree, which is not a surprise since you're getting divorced. Sometimes it can be really bad where one spouse is really stubborn or abusive. And the problem is keeping the house could lead to financial ruin for the other spouse or even both spouses. And maybe one spouse doesn't care and they want to hurt you more. This is a real thing, as a tactic people do. There's lots of nasty little tactics people will do in getting divorced because of their emotions. You'll need to talk to your attorney. I don't know how this process exactly works because I'm not an attorney, but you can file a motion to force the sale of the home. You just talk to your attorney. They'll have to look at your individual case. And a lot of times the court will appoint a real estate agent that will represent the house or the marital asset. And in the end, the other spouse is going to have to cooperate. Now, being court appointed can work in a lot of ways. It's best to consult an attorney. You really need a real estate agent who's neutral. There'll be an appraisal done of the house so that it's listed for what's called market value. And it's purely a business transaction. The real estate agent or anyone else involved outside of your attorney and just your own family and friends really does not need to know the details of the relationship or why you're getting divorced. You don't want to create a bias. You want it to be a pure business transaction, and you want a real estate agent that is a business person who does understand you're going through something emotionally, but is also a neutral party that is going to help you get the most money. You don't want one spouse turning a professional against the other. This is a purely business transaction. to help you get the equity out of the home. Now, what I suggest is you take the money and pay off all consumer debt. If you have credit cards, car payment, if you have the money, just go ahead and get out of debt. That's my advice. Again, not a tax professional, I'm not a financial planner, but I think doing something like that and investing in rebuilding a new life, it's the right thing to do. You don't need to just have fun yet. I know it's been a hard journey and you want to have some fun with it, but you need to set yourself up for financial success. You need to start rebuilding your life. That probably means, if you can, go ahead and buy a new house. Now, it's probably going to be a smaller house than what you had before. Maybe it's a townhouse, maybe it's even just a condo. And you need to do this ASAP. You have got to start rebuilding your financial life and bring back some normalcy into your life. That if there are children involved, that's going to help give them safety and security. And, it's always going to be better than renting. If you do have to rent for a little bit, that's okay too. But most of the time, if they're got a house and you're selling it, there's probably enough money for a down payment to get something else. Again, it's not going to be the same house. It's not going to be as big, maybe not even as nice, but you are rebuilding your life. And this is an important step. It's time for you to commit to change. And maybe you haven't been mature before. It's just time to take a big step as an adult. When this happens, you have to change after a life event such as a divorce. If you don't make those kinds of decisions, you could spend the next decade in real problems financially that's going to lead to even more emotional turmoil for you and anyone involved, especially if there's kids involved. You've got to really consider them. We do offer free consultations for 20 minutes if you have any other questions or if you need a referral for an attorney, anyone else. There is a form next to the video you can fill out, or you can call or text me at the number listed here. If you want to check out my YouTube channel, just go to YouTube and look up Stephen Hughes Hardship Real Estate Pro, and you can also email me if you want, just stephenhughesrealtor@gmail.com. Thanks so much. I will be available to talk to you at any time. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.